Hello YouTube, Robin Hood Bricks here, and today we're going to do part 2 of our cargo carrier ship mock that should see it go all the way into Brick Nottingham Harbour. Well, I suggest if you haven't watched part 1 of this series that you go back and watch it. It was about 3 weeks ago, which is the length of time this has just been waiting in the wings partially complete. But as a very quick recap indeed, we'll be rejoining Captain Codswallop with the rather impressive beard and Sailor Sally in the completion of what is kind of a homage to an old set that I never owned from back in the day, set 4030, the cargo carrier from 1987. And I've used this kind of remock as an excuse to recolour that set from the original blue hull with blue trim to red by using the much more available hull piece of set 4031 Firefighter from 1991, which is its sister ship. So we basically did a very large and impressive and detailed wheelhouse with a removable roof so we could look into the main cockpit with a hatch down there to lower decks. And I've got to say I got quite a lot of comments about everything that I did, mostly positive, but definitely some suggestions for improvements, but I'm always up for those, so that's no problem whatsoever. And the first thing I'm going to do today is action some of those improvements. So some very simple ones. First of all, it was suggested I had kind of a T-piece on the top of one of my radar domes, just so that could look like it was spinning around, so that's a really good one. Another one was to use some red as a bit more colour on the roof. So I'm going to remove this, 2x10 in a minute, replace it with a combination of tiles and so on to make that more interesting. So I like that idea very much. It was pointed out to me that we needed a rear-facing light. So I'm just going to add a yellow one to suggest that it's on and facing backwards. But at the same time, we should be removing the port and starboard lights from the back because they can be quite confusing apparently when this is sailing away into the distance. So I'm just going to replace those with some white curved slopes like that, which bring it to quite a nice angle at the corners there. There we go. And you'll see I've already added the City Seaways stickers that came with that ferry set, which is set 60119, of course. So I think that does look really good, even though it's got a slight bit of blue on there, which isn't the colour we've got elsewhere. So yeah, I really like that as well. So before I pause to put on all of the red tiles, I will mention as well that I kept referring to this as the wheelhouse, and many people pointed out that it didn't have a wheel in it, which does make it quite hard to steer this ship. So basically, I'm going to be adding this to the inside as well. So for all of those suggestions, which were very well received, here is your bedoing. All right, so that's those two done. There is the red stripe. And I've used some corner tiles just to round that off, give it a bit more interest. And I think that is a good improvement. But even more importantly, there is our ship's wheel in between the radar and the throttly thing that makes it go faster and slower, to use its technical name. So that's really good. I'm going to put the removable roof back on. Now, there were some more major suggestions made as well. And the main criticism was that the wheelhouse wasn't big enough. It needed to be much taller and perhaps even incorporate a door so you could get inside the thing. Now, those are fair points, but originally this was a homage, as I say, to that old cargo carrier set. And I was trying to do something that reminded me of that. But yeah, you do make a good point. Now, I was thinking of saying that the door was included and it was just so seamless and really hard to get open that you just couldn't see it, and that was your fault, not mine. But, you know, the more I think about it, the more it annoys me now. So I do really want to incorporate a door in this lower level, which means I'm going to make it a lot taller. Well, I'm going to have to, otherwise it's going to be a tiny, tiny door. And because the actual floor level of the floor above is actually just above these windows, it kind of looks like it should be that red line, but it's not. I'm going to have to extend the upper floor as well if I do this. So that's quite a big change, and it will lose some of that sort of familiarity with the cargo carrier. But I've kind of mocked it out on LDD, which is the digital program that I use. And, you know, it looks quite good, actually. So I am going to go ahead, which means pretty much ripping off this entire thing and starting again, although it will look largely the same. And I think the final sort of decision was made by the fact that I'm going to be including these mast pieces all the way along it, and they'll be a little higher than that because I'll be resting on something. And I thought, well, whoever's driving this thing can't even see past all of that, so it really is a little low. So yeah, I'm going to take this apart and then build it back from the ground up, though it will look very similar, just with a few extra sort of lines of bricks on the inside. And then I'm hoping we'll have a door which links up with the stairs that are sort of hinted at in there, and that hatch, of course. So yeah, let's do that next. All right, so here is our remodeled lower floor, and it's looking a lot taller, I think you'll agree. I've included some sun-damaged white vent bricks there, just so it looks really grubby and dirty, as a ship like this might. It wouldn't be all pristine. And because I'm probably going to be seeing this side more when it's moored up in my harbour, I figured I'd put the door on this side to make it a bit more interesting. And that's also why I've got the fire axe on this side. And it just so happened that I had one spare white train door. So this is absolutely perfect for this setting. And I can put it in this gap here. And yes, it won't open entirely to get out, but you can shimmy out and then close it behind you. So I think it still works. And anyway, it looks the part. And I think we've got the required headroom in here now, as demonstrated ably by Sailor Sally. So what we've got in here, just to do a quick overview, is some very, very steep stairs up to the hatch. So at least it kind of works. And now the hatch connection is in red, which is in kind of keeping with the hatch itself being red. So that works very well. You can see the backs of the engines now, but that's kind of unavoidable. And maybe I could put some sort of life preservers or something like that in this area. But yeah, I think that's going to look really good with the door on there. And then I just thought I'd add, for authenticity, a little rat going about his business. Maybe put him underneath this fire axe here. Oh, I've kind of lost him behind the ledge. There we go. And yeah, I think that's another tiny little scene, as long as he doesn't prevent the door from opening. No, that works still. Cool. So that's an improvement. Right, well, all's ship shape and Bristol fashion. And if you look in there, we've got a crate with some life preservers in it. I don't know if you can see that or not. It is quite dark in there, but that's looking quite good. Now we've got the full red stripe on and the start of the upper floor. And that's all in red now, which actually is a really good contrast. So the red band does represent the floor for the second level now. And the interior is much the same. Then we can put on the unchanged kind of top bit of that floor. If I push all that down, should work fine. Yeah, with our changes from earlier. And then onto that, we can put our removable roof, of course. So there we go. There is our much taller wheelhouse, and it does have a wheel in now, of course. So it is a wheelhouse. So what do you think of that? I think that looks a lot better, actually. I was very skeptical, but as usual, you did convince me. I did have to do it on digital first, just to check that I wasn't wasting my time. But yeah, I think that really does look good. And if we sort of add our mast again, kind of here, it looks like, well, they could actually have a chance of seeing over it now. So I think that makes a lot more sense. So yeah, not as similar to the original set as I had originally intended, but a good outcome, actually. Got the nice stickers on the side and a door to get in and everything. So yeah, all bells and whistles now. Cool. Thanks very much for that suggestion, all of you. Oh yes, that definitely looks better, doesn't it? Really like that. I didn't show you the back. The engines go a little bit further down now, but still pretty similar as they did before. But yes, I think the extra height does work very well, actually. And this view is definitely the best with the door and the rat, of course. So now we've changed this set quite a bit from the one that inspired it. I do want to kind of turn back up the nostalgia value, I suppose, by working on the next section, which is these wonderful cargo holds. And the original had these very old pieces to basically cover those with hatches. And I'm going to replicate that faithfully to the original, albeit by changing the colour from blue to red, of course. So it's quite hard getting hold of these pieces. In fact, I had to go to Germany in order to get them, and just to get a large amount of these in the right colours. So essentially you get two of these hatches, and then you kind of join them together with a 1x8, and then you add to the underside with a 1x6, and then that can kind of clip on the edge of that hole and come up together, and then we can put a slope there to kind of give it an end, and then we do the same thing on the other side. So the 1x8 across there, 1x6 underneath, and oh, that is amazing. That is something I've wanted to do since I was a little kid, and I saw the original set with these wonderful hatches in the catalogues. See, before the internet, we just had paper catalogues, and you just stare at the pictures for hours of all the things you didn't have, wishing you did. And that is the first time I've ever built that and ever opened and closed it. And wow, doesn't it look amazing? Now, the original had some 4x8 sort of cargo containers that would go on top of here. And I might do that later, but with my usual 6x10 versions. But for now, I'm going to have these wonderful things on plain view because I do think they look absolutely great. I don't want to cover up all that nostalgia with something else. So maybe the ship has just unloaded all of its containers. So anyway, I'm going to add on the second one for full-blown enjoyment. It's amazing the strange things you remember from many, many moons ago, and I could have almost built these hatches, I think, in my sleep from the sort of deep grain memory that they seem to have in my head. So there we go. I've probably built them wrong now. Somebody will point out. Anyway, wow, doesn't that look great? Oh, I absolutely love that. I really like it in red, actually. I mean, the main reason for doing it in red is because the other big container ship in my harbour is already blue, as well as the fact that the blue one's harder to get hold of. But yes, that looks absolutely lovely. Now, in the middle, as you'll know from the original, there was a great big crane, and I got a few different alternatives. One was this really old one that hinged both ways that was from all sorts of incredibly old sets, like 332 tow truck from 1967. But I think it's just a bit too low, really. I mean, it could hoist it up to about level with the deck, and I don't really want to mount it right up there. I just don't think that's good enough. I'll find something else to do with that, probably on my harbour side. But I'm going to incorporate a red turntable of the big old chunky type to keep up that theme. And then I'm going to have a very old style reel in yellow to bring out that sort of accent colour that I'm going to have on all my masts. So that's going to go on next. And I've just augmented that with a couple more pieces. And then I've got the first of our masts with these wonderful sort of side arms. And the point of this is that you mount it like that. Then the string comes out of there, goes in through there, over the top of there, there's a little slit, and through there as well. And then I'm going to pin mine in place at the top with a little light to continue the yellow light theme across the top. And then on the end, well, you could put anything really, a hook, a grabber, but I'm going to put basically a red one of these sort of things, much like the original set as well, so it can kind of grab onto a container. And then this can turn, and you can move each of these booms to get the angle right. So when it needs to be right over there or stretching over the edge, it can be fully down or fully up if you want to yank it nearer the crane. But I just love that because of its shape. That's what I absolutely adore about that. It just looks brilliant, perfect, and very different from all of my other ships. So this yellow sort of accent of these old pieces continues up the ship. Right, so I'm going to get knotting with that, so that's done, and wind up the sort of slack, and then we can focus on the yet more sort of yellow pieces to make some nostalgic sort of sub-builds on the front, and that'll include the anchor winch. Ho ho ho! String knotted, and I am grinning from ear to ear because this is absolutely great, like a very, very old itch that needed to be scratched, and I'm finally doing it. Yes, this is brilliant. So there is that one in the middle with all of its wonderful string and booms and all the rest of it, and we will continue that theme up the ship going further forward. Now, I did have the option of using this old grey turntable, but I reckon red is better. Do you agree? Anyway, let me know about that. That will be used somewhere else. And I'm glad I bought 3 of these as well, actually, because you can see this one's quite bent, actually. It's quite bent that direction, but it gets even worse when you go like that. Look at that. So I shan't be using that one, but I do have a third one. So it always pays with old parts when you're paying postage from Germany to get one too many. And that's got these kind of modified plates on that have the lights on, and that's familiar to the old build as well. So that will just go next on there. No string on that one, but I will add another light on the top. So that's looking really nice for some deck lighting. Then kind of every build back in the day had one of these little hanger kind of fence pieces with a hammer and a, I was going to call it a screwdriver then, a spanner in it. So we have to keep that up. I probably want that right next to there. Would you agree? Then we need a bit of a space before we do this all-important winch for the anchor. Now this is a really clever build actually, using very old pieces only, obviously. So we've just got a very small Technic axle, and we can put, to contain the string that I've already knotted around it, some 1x2 round plates. And then we're going to have these headlight bricks where the back is going to contain that axle. We've got the same sort of substructure on the other side, except that's got a handle on, and that's to power the winch presumably. And then we can have that mounted perhaps, I don't know, should we go for there? That looks about right. And then I can spread those out to get a bit more space. We've got this string for our anchor. Now that I think looks really good. What do you think of that? It just keeps up the nostalgia by keeping up the colour scheme going with the red and the yellow highlights, but also these kind of clunky builds by modern standards, but they are just perfect. And then I can thread the, oh no, I've missed a bit. Before I thread it through the hole in the boat, which has probably got a very fancy name, I need to thread it through this piece, which is the same as we did for the accelerator piece on the inside of the cockpit, but it's kind of got a dual use in these old ship builds where it's kind of this weird thing on the front, whatever that's called. I need a lesson in ship parts, don't I? Where it kind of controls the rope and the direction it's going in, and then I can put it through the hull of the ship, which is another good part of this hull style. I really like that detail. Doesn't that look absolutely great? It looks complicated, which is exactly what you want, because then it looks authentic. And I've deliberately used a very short piece of string because, well, I don't have much string. I've kind of run out of official Lego string. I'm going to have to find some third-party stuff that's the same. So I need to do more knotting now and attach my anchor to it. So it's just a regular anchor with a bar piece across it. And that can hang, I think, on this side again to make that the most interesting angle still. So that looks really good. And then just for a bit more deck sort of features, there's a bit of a space there, so I'll probably just add a bit of chain that really probably shouldn't be lying around, but why not have it sort of something like that, just looking like it's for some purpose or other. And wow, I don't want to comment on it being finished too early because, well, I haven't knotted this on, and I do want to add some interesting stuff to the insides of the holds. Whoop whoop, well that was worth the wait, wasn't it? Wow, that looks absolutely amazing. There's the anchor knotted on safely and looking great as well, going through that sort of eyelet hole in the hull. Yes, the red is the main colour, the white is the second colour, and then that yellow accent colour really just brings it all off. I think it looks absolutely fantastic, and I love it from end to end, from bow to stern. Wow, yes. And thanks again for making me make that taller. I definitely think that works very well. It was definitely too squat before, wasn't it? So now, well, you know me, I want to get this thing absolutely packed and stacked, but I don't want to spoil too much the deck because I think it's got some very sort of clean lines and so on. So the idea I've come up with is to give this a bit of a backstory. And I reckon that Captain Codswallop is not all he seems. And I think he has a secondary identity. He's not just a regular sea captain taking cargo from port to port. I think he's also a nefarious pirate. Yes, I think he's known on the high seas as the Red Peril because he has this wonderful red ship, of course. And what he does is modern day piracy. Yeah, I think he basically goes up to other ships, takes all their rich stuff and then basically sinks them. I know, what a bad chap. bad to the bone. So what is the evidence of this? Well, I think if you were allowed to look inside his hulls, you would see that the back one was absolutely full of treasure. So I'm going to use these 3 treasure chests that I got from those submarine sets and pretend they're full. So I'm just going to tip out all the gems that I got. Got 5 different gems, different colours, so I can sprinkle them all over the top. So this will be my sort of foundation treasure layer, if you will. So I'm just going to hold them in my left hand while I reach around the camera and get my next bag, which is full of gold bars, some gold sort of sculptures and loads of gold coins. So I'm going to tip all of that rich stuff on the top as well. Oh ho ho, now it looks like treasure, doesn't it? So then I can sprinkle the gems on top of that. So it looks like he's really been quite a successful pirate. So how about that? They are the ill-gotten gains of a life led very badly. And you wouldn't know they were there the rest of the time because he's obviously got his booty hidden away in his hold. So that is the backstory to Captain Codswallop, or the Red Peril. And then I thought, well, wouldn't nosy customs officials look in his cargo carrier holds and find out that he had all of this treasure and that he had his second secret identity? And what would you do with a very, very nosy customs official? Well, I think you'd throw them in your front hold, which would be full of loads and loads of killer scorpions. And I thought that if he had a pit of killer scorpions to throw nosy customs officials into, well, they wouldn't last long at all, would they? So maybe this is an ex-customs official with his black boots and his black cap and his list of jobs to do. And he is kind of in amongst all of these scorpions as the last unfortunate who decided to challenge Captain Codswallop, or the Red Peril, should I say. So I think I might need to rearrange that so it closes properly. Oh no, that's worked. So there we go. You'd always be none the wiser, wouldn't you? But we've got the treasure in the back and the dead customs official in the front. And that makes it more packed and stacked and a lot more fun. I'm very Brick Nottingham. So there we go. Now I think all I need to do is get this thing into the city. Oh, actually, no, I've got one more job to do, and that's to name this ship. Now, I'm not going to run a competition because I've been looking through my stickers, and there's one that's very appropriate. It's from the set 7985, City of Atlantis, and it comes on this sticker sheet. And the little sort of red submarine that was in there was called the Artemis. And you can see there are 2 stickers there that say the Artemis. So I'm going to apply those to each side of the hull, probably about here, I think, where the colour should fit in perfectly. And just so you know, that Artemis is a follower of Artemis, who is the goddess of wild animals, the hunt, vegetation, chastity, and childbirth, which must make her a very busy lady indeed. And you wouldn't have thought the last 2 of that list would work, would you? You would have thought they'd clash a little. But anyway, so that will make this ship the follower of the hunt, which is actually quite apt here because, well, as a pirate, he's always on the hunt for that booty, of course. So let's get those stickers on and let's get the ship into the city. Name badges on. And into the harbour it goes. And a very busy harbour indeed it is. Can't really see it without sort of peering both ways around this crane. It does move, but it just blocks the front then. But you get the idea. But I kind of want my city to be packed and stacked, and I definitely want my harbour to be bustling, full of ships and cranes. So yeah, I think it kind of works. It's not supposed to be the main feature after all. But that red contrast is absolutely great next to the blue. It makes it look a lot more congested. And of course, we've got the green one over there and the white Coast Guard one over here. So we're really spoilt for all of the diversity we've got here. So I've moved the fishing boat over there. And that yellow is really popping as well. I do like it very much. Yep. And if we want to have a pier inside those holes, of course we can because they're within easy reach. But I'd take care to not let Captain Codswallop see you. Otherwise, well, you might have the same fate as that customs officer, of course. So, yeah, I'm really loving that build. I'm loving the inclusion of that nostalgic ship in my harbour. It's going to make me smile every time I see it. I just know it, especially those hatches and those kind of cranes and masts and so on all over the front. They look absolutely special as anything. Wow, very happy with that. So that's another sort of boyhood dream ticked, if you ask me. So that can't be a bad thing, can it? So, as always, thank you very much for watching. It is appreciated. Do remember to like, comment and subscribe for more awesome LEGO videos. And if you value this channel, there are many ways in which you can support it. Do check out the links in the description below. And next time on Robin Hood Bricks, it'll be Monday, and I think I'll be doing another one of my train builds because I'm going a bit train crazy at the moment. Then on Wednesday we'll have another brick haul, and then on Friday we'll do another mock build, which might be finishing, say, off that undersea base, much in the spirit of finishing off this boat today, or it might be something new. You never know how the mood will take me or what parts will inspire the next build. But if it's anything like this video, I think it will be fantastic. So, until all of that, see you! It's a pirate's life for me.